Thanksgiving dinner was going to be exactly like every other family gathering. An interrogation disguised as concern. My mother had insisted we do Thanksgiving at that lovely new Chinese fusion place downtown. I'd agreed because arguing with Mom was exhausting, and because I had my own reasons for choosing this particular restaurant. The hostess led our party of 12 to a private dining room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Aunt Linda was already holding court, her voice carrying across the elegant space. "Emma, there you are." She air-kissed both my cheeks, her eyes scanning me from head to toe. "You look thin. Are you eating enough? Working too much at that little bookstore?" "I manage the bookstore, Aunt Linda. And I eat fine." "Managing," she repeated with a pitying smile. "Well, it's a job, I suppose." My cousin Jennifer swooped in, designer handbag prominently displayed. "Emma, how are you? Still in that studio apartment in Queens?" "Brooklyn, actually. And yes, still there." "So cozy," Jennifer said in a tone that meant cramped. "David and I just bought a place in Westchester. 4 bedrooms, 3 baths. You'll have to visit once we're settled." I smiled tightly. "Sounds lovely." The family assembled around the large round table. Mom immediately started the seating arrangements, directing everyone like a traffic controller. I ended up between Aunt Linda and my grandmother, directly in the line of fire. Aunt Linda wasted no time. "So, Emma, still single?" The entire table went quiet. This was the moment they'd all been waiting for, the annual examination of Emma's romantic failures. "No husband yet. Such a shame," Aunt Linda continued, her voice loud enough that the neighboring private room probably heard. "You're 32 now, aren't you? Your biological clock is ticking." "I'm 29 actually." Even worse. Jennifer was married at 26. Already has 2 beautiful children. "Don't you want a family?" "I'm perfectly happy with my life, Aunt Linda." "Happy," she scoffed. "You say that now, but when you're 40 and alone, you'll regret not settling down. There's still time, but you can't be too picky. Not everyone can afford to have standards." My mother jumped in, trying to be helpful but making it worse. "Emma's very independent. She likes doing things her own way." "Independent is just another word for stubborn," Aunt Linda said. "You need to be more flexible, Emma. More open to opportunities. Like that nice accountant I tried to set you up with." "Who spent the entire dinner talking about his irritable bowel syndrome," I reminded her. "He was successful. Had his own practice." The servers began bringing out appetizers. Delicate dumplings arranged like flowers, crispy spring rolls, sesame noodles garnished with microgreens. Everything was perfectly plated, artfully presented. This is studying the menu. "Who's paying?" "We'll split it," Mom said quickly. Jennifer leaned over. "I heard the owner is some young tech millionaire who decided to get into restaurants. These places are always overpriced. All style, no substance." I sipped my water and said nothing. "Emma dear," Grandmother said, patting my hand. "Your mother tells me you're still working at that bookstore. Shouldn't you be thinking about a real career? Something with benefits? Stability." "The bookstore is stable, Grandma." "But it's not a career," Aunt Linda interjected. "It's a job. There's a difference. Jennifer is a marketing director at a Fortune 500 company. Now that's a career." Jennifer preened. "We just closed a major campaign. The bonuses were incredible this year." "And you, Emma? Any prospects? Career-wise or romantically?" Aunt Linda's eyebrows waggled suggestively. Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. A text from David. "How's it going? Do I need to stage a rescue?" I texted back. "Not yet. But stay on standby." "Always on that phone," Aunt Linda said. "That's probably why you can't find a man. Men don't like women who are always distracted by technology." "I don't think that's." "Trust me, I know. I've been married for 35 years. And let me tell you, the secret to a happy marriage is knowing when to put down the phone and pay attention to your husband." Uncle Robert snorted. "That's rich, Linda. You're on Facebook more than anyone I know." "That's different. I'm maintaining social connections." The entrees arrived. Peking duck with handmade pancakes, honey walnut shrimp, mapo tofu, beef with Chinese broccoli. Each dish was a work of art, the presentation flawless. "I have to admit," Jennifer said grudgingly, "the food is excellent." "Of course it is," I said quietly. "David doesn't settle for anything less than perfection." David. Aunt Linda perked up. Who's David? Is that a boyfriend? Emma's finally dating someone? Mom looked hopeful and terrified simultaneously. Before I could respond, the private dining room door opened. The restaurant manager stepped in, a professional smile on his face. Good evening. I wanted to personally check that everything is to your satisfaction. Mr. Chin asked me to ensure his fiancé's family is having an exceptional experience. The table went silent. Aunt Linda's wine glass stopped halfway to her lips. Fiancé. The manager turned to me. Ms. Emma, Mr. Chin wanted me to inform you that he's finishing with the kitchen inspection but will join you for dessert if that's acceptable. That would be perfect, James. Thank you. And yes, everything is wonderful. Excellent. Please let me know if you need anything at all. He bowed slightly and left. The silence at the table was deafening. Fiancé. Aunt Linda repeated, her voice strangling. You're engaged. Yes. For about 6 months now. 6 months. Mom's voice was faint. You didn't tell us? I tried. Multiple times. But every conversation gets interrupted by questions about why I'm still single or suggestions about my career choices. Jennifer was staring at me. Wait, Mr. Chin? As in David Chin? The owner of this restaurant. Owner of this restaurant chain, I corrected. Lotus Garden has 8 locations across 3 states, with 2 more opening next quarter. But you said you work at a bookstore, grandmother said, confused. I do. I manage chapter and verse in Brooklyn. It's David's other business. He owns 12 independent bookstores across the East Coast. I run the flagship location. Aunt Linda looked like she'd been slapped. You're telling me you're engaged to David Chin? The David Chin. Is there another one I should know about? The tech entrepreneur who sold his software company for $400 million and then started investing in hospitality and retail? Uncle Robert was scrolling through his phone, clearly Googling. That David Chin? That's him. Oh my God, Jennifer breathed. I read about him in Business Insider. They called him one of the most successful young entrepreneurs on the East Coast. Mom's face had gone through several color changes. Emma, why didn't you say something? I've been trying to introduce you to David for months, but everything about how I need to stop being so picky. We didn't know you were serious. Aunt Linda protested. Biz, you never asked. You just assumed I was perpetually single and failing at life. The food suddenly seemed less interesting to everyone. They were all staring at me like I'd sprouted a second head. How did you even meet? Jennifer asked. At the bookstore. He came in looking for a first edition Hemingway. We got to talking about literature, then coffee, then dinner. Turns out we both love books, good food, and quiet evenings more than fancy parties. We've been together for 2 years. 2 years. Aunt Linda's voice was getting higher. You've been dating a tech millionaire for 2 years and never mentioned it? I mentioned it constantly. You just weren't listening. Last Christmas, I tried to tell you about David, and you interrupted to talk about Jennifer's promotion. At Easter, I brought up our engagement and you changed the subject to ask if I'd gained weight. At Mom's birthday in July, I literally said, I'm engaged, and Aunt Linda started talking about her new car. The table had gone very quiet. You're right, Mom said finally, her voice small. I remember now. You tried to tell me and I wasn't listening. None of us were, Uncle Robert admitted. We just assumed. Aunt Linda trailed off. Assumed I was failing because I work at a bookstore and live in Brooklyn? Because I'm not married with kids and a house in the suburbs. When you say it like that, it sounds terrible, Jennifer said. It was terrible. Every family gathering is an interrogation about my life choices, with all of you deciding I'm somehow less successful because I don't fit your definition of achievement. Grandmother reached over and squeezed my hand. I'm sorry, dear. We should have listened better. The door opened again and David walked in. He was wearing dark jeans and a crisp white button-down, his sleeves rolled up from working in the kitchen. He crossed to me immediately, kissing my forehead. Sorry I'm late. The new chef wanted my input on the sauce for tomorrow's special. He turned to the table with a warm smile. You must be Emma's family. I've been looking forward to meeting you. Aunt Linda was gaping. Jennifer looked starstruck. Mom was flustered, standing up and then sitting down again uncertainly. David Chin, he said, offering his hand around the table. It's a pleasure. The pleasure is ours, Uncle Robert managed. David pulled up a chair next to me, his hand finding mine under the table. Emma's told me so much about all of you. I'm glad we finally get to do this properly. Properly? Mom echoed. Well, I've been trying to meet you for months, but the timing never seemed to work out. Emma kept saying you were all busy, but I suspect she was protecting me from the still single inquisition she always comes home from. Aunt Linda had the grace to look ashamed. I wanted to talk to you actually, David said, looking at my father. Traditional circumstances and all that. I'd like to formally ask for your blessing to marry Emma. I know we're already engaged, but it matters to her that her family approves. Dad, who'd been silent this whole time, cleared his throat. Of course you have my blessing. We're thrilled. Are you? David's tone was polite, but there was steel underneath. Because Emma comes home from these family dinners feeling inadequate and criticized. She's brilliant, accomplished, and manages one of my most successful businesses. Yet somehow she leaves here feeling like she's failing. The table shifted uncomfortably. That's going to change, David continued. Because Emma is about to become my wife, and I don't accept anyone making her feel less than extraordinary. Even family. Especially family. We didn't mean, Aunt Linda started. Didn't you? David's smile didn't reach his eyes. Emma, her apartment. The biological clock. The implications that managing a bookstore isn't a real career. That all sounds pretty intentional to me. We love Emma, Mom protested. Then show her. Listen when she talks. Ask about her life instead of making assumptions. Celebrate her choices instead of criticizing them. He stood up, keeping my hand in his. Now, I've arranged for dessert in the main dining room. The pastry chef has prepared something special to celebrate our engagement, the one Emma tried to tell you about 6 months ago. We moved to a private corner of the main dining room, where a beautiful table had been set up with champagne and an elaborate dessert display. Other diners noticed David and whispered. He was somewhat famous in restaurant circles. The pastry chef had created a stunning display. Delicate mango mousse domes, green tea opera cake, sesame tuile cookies, and in the center, a sculpture made entirely of chocolate and spun sugar. This is incredible, Jennifer breathed. Emma designed the menu, David said proudly. She has an exceptional palate and a gift for pairing flavors. The bookstore cafe menu? All her creations. We're thinking of publishing a cookbook. You designed this? Mom stared at me. I've been taking culinary classes at night. David encouraged me to explore my interests. She's extraordinary, David said simply. I knew it the moment I met her. I just wish her family had known it all along. Aunt Linda was crying quietly. Emma, I'm so sorry. I've been awful to you. You've been dismissive, I corrected. There's a difference. Can we start over? Mom asked. Really start over? We want to know about your life. Your work. Your plans with David. Everything. I looked at David, who squeezed my hand supportively. We can try, I said. But things are going to be different. No ship status. No more comparing me to Jennifer or anyone else. If you can't respect my choices, then we'll be keeping our distance. We can do that, Dad said firmly. We will do that. Good. Because David and I are getting married in 6 months and I'd like my family there. But only if you're there to celebrate us, not to judge. We'll be there, Grandmother said. And we'll behave ourselves. The evening ended with champagne toasts and actual conversations about my life. David's businesses, our wedding plans, the bookstore's upcoming expansion. My family asked questions and actually listened to the answers. As we left, Aunt Linda pulled me aside. I really am sorry, Emma. I see now how blind I've been. Thank you for saying that. He's wonderful, by the way. David. The way he looks at you, that's real. I know. In the car, David took my hand. How do you feel? Vindicated. Exhausted. A little sad that it took your status to make them listen. They should have listened because you matter, not because of who you're marrying. Yeah. But maybe this is the wake-up call they needed. Sometimes people don't see what's right in front of them until someone else points it out. 6 months later, we got married at a small venue in upstate New York. My family attended, and for once they celebrated me without qualification or comparison. Aunt Linda gave a toast about how proud she was of the woman I'd become. Jennifer admitted she'd been jealous of my independence. Mom apologized again for not listening. And as David and I danced our first dance as husband and wife, I realized something. I didn't need their validation anymore. I had my own success, my own love, my own life. But it was still